today filed a lawsuit on behalf of the families of 3 men who are believed to have been sent by the U.S. government from Texas to Cuba, to the U.S. naval base in Guantanamo Bay. Did they have anything to do with 9/11 or the war on terror? No, they did not. According to the lawsuit, quote, on February 5th, 2025, Ms. Gomez-Lugo saw photographs of immigrant detainees transported to Guantanamo. She immediately recognized her brother, Tilso, in one of the photographs. The lawsuit goes on to say that Ms. Gomez-Lugo tried to contact her brother, both herself and through legal representatives. She's not been able to contact her brother. Federal law requires that lawyers are able to communicate with their clients. The ACLU says that at Guantanamo, that thus far isn't happening for people who are being shipped there from the United States. So they filed this suit. Joining us now is Lee Galern. He is the lead attorney on that lawsuit. He's deputy director of the Immigrant Rights Project at ACLU. Lee, it's nice to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Why do you think the U.S. government is sending immigrants to Guantanamo?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think part of it is exactly what you hit on in your introductory piece, that it's a lot of theater, right? It's more expensive to send them to Guantanamo. There's no reason to do it, yet they're doing it and they're taking pictures of the men, right? And, you know, for 3 decades, we've been always asked the government for information about immigrants, and they've always said, no, there's privacy concerns. We can't give you any information. Now, all of a sudden, we see these pictures splashed everywhere of these men on the tarmac in Guantanamo. So there's no question there's theater going on. I also think that they're trying to, you know, keep them isolated, not let them assert their rights, keep them away from counsel. And so that's why we filed this lawsuit. You know, the first lawsuit we needed to file was just to get access to these men. Who are they? What's their situation? Do they want attorneys, and do they want to assert their rights? I think there'll be follow-up lawsuits trying to prevent people from being sent there in the first place. But right now, we just need to reach these men.
You know, CBS News reported today, Lee, that among the men who have been sent so far to Guantanamo, despite the fact that this is only going to be the worst of the worst, the most dangerous criminals, among the people who've been sent so far are nonviolent, quote, low-risk men who lack serious criminal records, don't appear to match at all the government description of why they needed this facility to be used in the first place. Do you actually know enough about who's there thus far to be able to comment at all on that CBS reporting, or do you know anything else about how they've been deciding which people actually go there?
We don't, and that's one of the problems. I mean, I have no reason to doubt the CBS report. It's consistent with the way the Trump administration has always acted. A lot of hyperbole about who these immigrants are, casting all immigrants with a criminal net, and it turns out, of course, not to be true almost consistently. And so I have no doubt that the CBS report is accurate, but we don't have independent confirmation. That's exactly why we need to get down there and see who these people are. And even if they have criminal histories, they have rights that they can assert. We don't send people back even if they have a criminal history to torture, but we have no doubt that not everyone there is going to have a serious criminal history.
Lee, I know that you have been gearing up for and getting ready for, and you've been very clear-eyed about what the Trump campaign said they wanted to do on this issue. You've been getting ready for this stuff since before the November election.
You can stay, but
what do you see as your most potent weapons? People who are watching this right now, who want to help say no to what the administration's doing. What can normal people do?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Rachel. You know, we are, as you said, clear-eyed about how much we can get done in the courts. We think the courts will stand up and will push back on certain things, but not everything can get done in the courts. I think any civil rights lawyer will tell you it needs to come more from the people. So as you know, from covering family separation so closely, it was the people who taking to the streets and saying, not in our name. And I think that's what people need to do, is they need to say, look, we wanted more immigration enforcement, but this is not what we wanted. We don't want you going after families. We don't want you sending people to Guantanamo. People let their voices be heard about this. I also would say to young lawyers, just take one case, do one thing, help one family. Don't be overwhelmed by the fact that these problems are so big. I think every family you help, they will be so grateful, and you will feel very good about what you've done, you know. But I think people's voices need to speak out. I get so many people calling and saying, wait, we didn't think this is what they meant by mass deportation, going after families, going after sending people to Guantanamo, separating families. So I do think people need to let their voices be heard. My own feeling is that when they asked the question during the campaign, do you want extra immigration enforcement, mass deportations? That question was too abstract, too vague. People didn't really know what they were voting for. I think when people see what's happening in practice, I'm hopeful they'll push back and say, just like they did with family separation, look, there's a point at which we don't want to cross. And I think Guantanamo is one of those situations. This is the first time in history that we've taken people off U.S. soil and sent them to a remote island. I never thought I would see the day when that happened in the United States, that we'd be sending people from the United States to a remote island, denying them access to the outside world, and presumably, who knows what's happening with the conditions, but they can't be good, presumably.
Well, the ACLU trying to stop it right now, in part with this lawsuit. Lee Gallant, Deputy Director of the ACLU's Immigrant Rights Project, lead attorney on this case. Lee, thank you very much for your time tonight. Keep us apprised.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
All right, we'll be right back.